Hi, welcome to this Corp Maths video. In this video, we're going to look at the GCSE Further Maths topic of dividing algebraic fractions. So we've looked previously at simplifying algebraic fractions, the trilogy on adding and subtracting algebraic fractions. We've looked at multiplying algebraic fractions, and now we're going to look at dividing algebraic fractions. Now, before we look at dividing algebraic fractions, let's have a look at some numerical fractions. So here we've got 2/5 divided by 3/4. And if we wanted to do 2/5 divided by 3/4, thinking back to your Key Stage 3 maths, what you would do is you'd multiply by the reciprocal. So instead of dividing by 3/4, we would do 2/5 multiply by 4/3. And if we do 2/5 multiplied by 4/3, we get, well, 2 times 4 is equal to 8, and 5 times 3 is equal to 15. So the answer would be 8/15. So whenever there's division by a fraction, what we do is we multiply by the reciprocal instead. So here, if we have this example where we've got simplify 9x squared minus 4 over x minus 2 divided by 3x squared plus 5x plus 2 over 2x minus 4, what we would do is instead of dividing by this fraction, we would multiply by its reciprocal. And remember, to find a reciprocal of a fraction, we just flip it over. So here we would have 9x squared minus 4 over x minus 2, and instead of dividing, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of this fraction, which means flip it over. So we're going to write 2x minus 4 over 3x squared plus 5x plus 2. And so then we can work out this. And if you think back to our last video, which was on multiplying algebraic fractions, this would be quite straightforward. What we could do is we could then factorize anything that needs to be factorized, and then multiply, and then cancel down. Or what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to factorize, then cancel down, and then multiply at the end. So let's do that. So whenever you're dealing with division with algebraic fractions, what you do is you multiply by the reciprocal instead. And the reciprocal is what you get whenever you flip over the fraction. Okay, so let's see if we can factorize anything. So here I can see we can factorize this numerator. It's the difference between two squareds. We can factorize this numerator. It's actually just basic factorization. And we can actually factorize this denominator as well. So let's do that. So let's factorize this numerator. So bracket, 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 bracket. We're going to square root both of them. So 3x and 2 and 3x and 2, and one with a plus sign and one with a minus sign. And that's the difference between two squareds. And if you need to recap that, go to Corp Maths and watch video number 120. Then over, the denominator will stay the same because that can't be factorized, so x minus 2. And then we've got to multiply. And now let's factorize this numerator. We can actually take a 2 out, so it'll be 2, and then in brackets, and if you divide both of them by 2, you'll get x minus 2. So you can just take the 2 out there and use basic factorization for that numerator. And then in terms of this denominator, that's going to be, it's a quadratic, so let's try and factorize it. It's 3x squared, so let's try a 3x and an x. And we want two numbers that times together to give us 2, and whenever you put them in the brackets and expand, you get a 5x. So I'm thinking we put the 1 there and the 2 there. So let's see if that would work. 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times 1 is 3x, and 2 times x is 2x, and if you add them together, that's 5x, fantastic, and 2 times 1 is equal to 2. So that's fantastic. So we've factorized anything that can be factorized. Now we just need to either multiply and then cancel down, but I'm going to cancel down before we multiply, just because I find it a little bit easier. So if we have a look here, this numerator and this denominator, well, we can actually divide both of them by 3x plus 2, so we can divide them both by 3x plus 2. And that's it. And then if we have a look at this numerator and this denominator, we can divide both of them by x minus 2. So we can divide by x minus 2 and x minus 2. I'm just going to put a 1 there just so we've got something on the denominator. So that's fantastic. So we've factorized, we've cancelled down. Now let's multiply and see what we get. So in terms of the numerators, we've got 3x minus 2 times 2. Well, let's just put the 2 in front of that bracket, 3x minus 2. And then in terms of the denominators, we've got 1 times that bracket. So I would just write that bracket, which would be x plus 1. And because it's just 1 times that bracket, we don't actually need the bracket there. We can just write x plus 1. And that's it. Nothing else can be cancelled down. So our answer would be 2 bracket 3x minus 2, close brackets, over x plus 1. And that's it. So whenever you're dealing with division by algebraic fractions, what we do is we multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, let's look at our next example. Okay, so our next one, we've been asked to simplify x squared minus 2x minus 24 over x squared minus 7x plus 6 divided by x plus 4 over 3x squared minus 3x. So here, because we've got division, let's multiply by the reciprocal instead. So we would have x squared minus 2x minus 24 over x squared minus 7x plus 6. And then we're going to change the divide to a multiply. And then we're going to write down the reciprocal, which is 3x squared minus 3x over x plus 4. So we've changed the divide to a multiply, and we've got the reciprocal of the fraction we're dividing by. So that's fantastic. Now we're just multiplying these algebraic fractions. So I'm going to try and factorize and then cancel down and then multiply at the end. So let's do that. Okay, so let's factorize to begin with. So hopefully this quadratic can factorize, hopefully this quadratic can factorize, and this can be factorized as well. So let's factorize this quadratic. So bracket, 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 bracket. We've got x squared, so let's put an x at the front of both brackets. And we want two numbers that times together to give us minus 24 and add together to be minus 2. So I'm thinking minus 6 and 4, so minus 6 plus 4. And then over. And then in terms of this denominator, it's a quadratic again. It's an x squared one, so let's try x and x. And we want two numbers that times together to give us 6 and add together to give us negative 7. Because they times together to be a positive and add together to be a negative, they're both going to be negative. And I'm thinking 6 and 1, negative 6 and negative 1. Because negative 6 times negative 1 is 6, and negative 6 plus negative 1 is equal to negative 7. So that's fantastic. And actually I can see there that we can actually cancel down that fraction as it is. We can divide both of them by x minus 6. Okay, then we've got times, and then if we have a look at this fraction here, the denominator can't be factorized, so let's leave it as x plus 4. But in terms of the numerator, we've got 3x squared minus 3x. Well, that's basic factorization. We can actually take out 3x. And if we take out 3x, let's see what we get. So 3x, and then in brackets, we would then have x, because 3x squared divided by 3x is just x, and then minus, and then 3x divided by 3x is 1. So that's fantastic. So we've then factorized those fractions. Let's see if anything cancels out. Well, this fraction can actually be simplified. We can divide both the numerator and denominator by x minus 6 to begin with. Okay, now if we have a look here, we can divide this numerator and that denominator by x plus 4. So that'll leave us with 1 and a 1. And actually this numerator and this denominator can divide by x minus 1, so that'll leave us with 1 and 1. So there we've got 1 times 3x, so that's going to be 3x on the numerator, and the denominator would just be 1 times 1, which is 1, 3x over 1, which is just 3x. So that's fantastic, so the answer is just 3x. So we were given this quite complicated question, and the answer is just equal to 3x, and that's it. Okay, and let's have a look at our last example. And so last question says to simplify 4x squared plus 6x over x squared minus 4 divided by 2x plus 3 over 4x squared plus 5x minus 6. Okay, so we've got a division here. So let's change that divide to a multiply and then find the reciprocal of what we're dividing by. So we've got 4x squared plus 6x over x squared minus 4, just keeping that fraction as it is. Change the divide to a multiply, and then we're going to find the reciprocal of the fraction we're dividing by. So that's going to be 4x squared plus 5x minus 6 on the numerator, and on the denominator we'll have 2x plus 3. Okay, so we've changed the divide to a multiply, and then we'll find the reciprocal of what we were dividing by. So that's fantastic. Now let's see if we can factorize and then cancel down, and then finally work out the multiplication. So we can factorize this numerator, just taking out a 2x. This is the difference between two squareds here, and then we'll see if this quadratic factorizes. So let's do that. So in terms of the numerator here, that's just basic factorization. We can take a 2x out, so 2x and then in brackets, and let's divide both of them by 2x. So 4x squared divided by 2x would be 2x. Then we'd have a plus, and 6x divided by 2x would be equal to 3. So factorize that numerator. Now let's factorize the denominator here. So we've got the difference between two squareds. So bracket, 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 x, x, and the square root of 4 is 2, so 2 and a 2, a plus and a minus. Okay, so we've factorized both the numerator and denominator of that fraction. Now let's have a look at the other fraction. So it's got a 2x plus 3 on the denominator, and then in terms of the numerator, let's see if this factorizes. So let's see if that factorizes there. So it's 4x squared, so we could use 4x and an x, or a 2x and a 2x. I'm going to try a 4x and an x, and then if that doesn't work, then I'll try a 2x and a 2x. Now we want two numbers that times together to be minus 6, and when we put them in the brackets and expand, we get a 5x. So I'm thinking 2 and 3. I'm thinking perhaps if we put the 2 there and the 3 there. And then 4x times 2 would be 8x, so let's make that positive and let's make that a minus, and let's see if that works. 4x times x is 4x squared. 4x times 2 is 8x, minus 3x is 5x, fantastic, and then minus 6. That's great, we've factorized there. So now we could multiply and then cancel down, but I'm going to cancel down before we multiply. So let's have a look here if anything cancels down. Well, we've got 2x plus 3 there and a 2x plus 3 there, so we can divide both that numerator and denominator by 2x plus 3. So that'll leave us with a 1 and a 1 there. Okay, now we've got x plus 2 and an x plus 2, so let's divide that numerator by x plus 2 and that denominator by x plus 2. That's fantastic. And I think that's it. Okay, so now let's multiply the numerators and denominators together. So in terms of the numerators, 2x times 4x minus 3. Well, I'm just going to write 2x and then in brackets 4x minus 3. And then in terms of the denominator, we've just got x minus 2. So x minus 2. And that's it. And that can't be cancelled down, so I'd probably just leave it like that. And that's it. So in this video we've looked at division involving algebraic fractions. So it's the same as normal division with fractions where we multiply by the reciprocal, but we just might need to factorise and cancel things down and then we'll get our answers. And that's it. So I really hope you found this video useful, and if you have found it useful, please like and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Now in terms of these GCSE Further Maths videos, the next one's going to be on more algebraic fractions. So it's going to be looking at exam style questions where we may have some addition and some multiplication or division and so on all involved in one question. Perhaps we might even need to consider BODMAS in the order of operations. And that's it.